All right. We are now live on Facebook. So, hello, anybody that jumped right onto Facebook Live with us. And hello, everybody that's also filing into our Zoom room. We will get started here in just a few minutes. All righty. It's 7 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and get this show on the road. My name is Sam Jack. I'm a librarian at Newton Public Library, and it's my great pleasure to kind of help facilitate these Fourth Tuesday programs. And so pleased that we have today's guest speaker here with us via the magic of the internet, Jenny Gegg. I believe you're in Omaha, Jenny?
I'm in Lincoln.
Lincoln. Darn
Yeah,
it. Okay,
that's
Lincoln,
all right.
Nebraska. Still a distant land, Lincoln, Nebraska. So we'll start Jenny's portion here momentarily. I've just got a few quick library and Fourth Tuesday photography announcements. Um, on the photography front, I will say next month's Fourth Tuesday program is going to be on April 27th, and we've got Sean Tomlinson, who many of you know. and a frequent presenter and always enjoyable, is going to give a presentation called Planning and Enjoying a Photo Trip to Western Kansas. And I also think some of you might have gone on that photo trip with him that this presentation is based on, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Also coming up next month, a few other library things. On the third Tuesday, the 20th, it's a Kansas history program about Kansas Boy, which is the new posthumously published memoir of A.J. Bollinger, who was, well, I won't, you can look on Facebook for more detail. I don't want to kind of get too far off track here, but that's going to be really cool. And he was involved in the Carrie Nation saloon protests. I should also mention, if you're on our Fourth Tuesday Photography Facebook group, which if you aren't, I encourage you to join. You already saw it, but Jim Griggs, who is Jenny's dad, posted about Cameron Darnell with Great Plains Nature Photographers as a photo club, and they've got a Facebook presence. And they and Jim are hosting Cameron Darnell for another go-round of the Creativity and Lighting for Bird Photography program, which sounds really interesting to me. I missed the first iteration of that, so I'll have to go and see if I can tune in on April 6th at 5 p.m. There's free registration for that. And then on the library front, on two things coming up in early April. On April 9th, we are having Friday, April 9th. I think we're starting around sunset time, 8 p.m. We are having our first outdoor family movie night in Military Park of the summer. We've got, I believe it's a total of 4 planned at this point, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Just bring a lawn chair or a blanket and enjoy a family-friendly movie in the park. And then the following day, April 10th, we are having a pop-up library at Mojo's Coffee Bar, where you can come, and if you don't have a library card, you can get one. You can kind of just talk with us about the library. I think we'll have a selection of materials there to check out, and get some coffee from Mojo's. So that's probably enough library stuff. There's a lot more on Facebook and on our website, or you can always contact us and ask questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jenny. Look, really excited to have her, as I said. And Jenny, I'll just kind of let you tell us a bit more about yourself and kind of introduce yourself and what you're going to be talking about. And then as far as questions and stuff, everybody please feel free to use the chat and on Zoom the Q&A function throughout. And then we'll get to those questions toward the end or whenever Jenny wants to do that. So have at it, Jenny.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me and inviting me. Not gonna lie, I'm just a little bit nervous, and not being able to see people's faces is even more nerve-wracking, because I don't know if anyone's toning out already. They're like, oh, okay. But I'm super happy to be here, and I'm excited to share with you guys. I have been a professional photographer for 21 years now. So I've been in the industry for a long time, and I feel like I have a lot to share. So I have a great presentation, including a long history of myself. That's 1 slide long in my presentation, if you want me to go ahead and get that started. If I can make sure I can know how to work it. Perfect. Are you seeing it? Everything look good?
Yep, looks good.
All right. So, oh no. Oh, you're missing the one picture of my parents. I'm sorry. So I am, this is a little bit about me. I've had a camera in my hand forever. My dad is Jim Griggs, who I know you've had us as a speaker several times. And as a kid, as you can see up there in the corner, he always had my camera pointed at flowers and nature. So as I grew up and became a rebellious teenager and college student, I decided I would only focus on people. So I have devoted my life to being a portrait photographer. and for the most part have never taken another nature picture again until a couple years ago, which we'll get to at the end of the program. So there you can see me in high school and in college, and then currently I had a good friend take that picture for me. I am a certified professional photographer. That's a PPA certification. It's kind of a big deal. It's along the same lines and rigorous testing as a certified public accountant. They use the same credentials that you have to pass to get it. I am the only one in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is kind of exciting. And there's only 13 in the entire state of Nebraska. So kind of a big deal there. I am also a member of the Professional Photographers of America. And I just recently was elected to the board of the Professional Photographers of Nebraska. So I'm excited this year to add that to my ventures. So that's just a little bit about me. And another thing about me is I'm a completely and totally open book. So if you have any questions, please, please, please ask. I will tell you anything and everything. And I like to be honest, maybe too honest at times. I will tell anyone that asks if they should become a professional photographer to really think about that, because it's not an easy business to become rich in by any means. Rich in spirit, we'll go with that. It's a rich in spirit field, but it's a lot of fun and I enjoy every minute of it. So with that, this is a picture of my kids. They, in this picture, are 7 and 12, I think I decided. And this is the last time they let me take their picture together. So that's kind of how it goes when you're a photographer's kid. My dad can attest to that. You do your best to not cooperate with the photographer. This is what they look like now. Oslo on the left is 11 and Olympia on the right is 16. I am also married, but weirdly enough, I have no pictures of my husband and I together or as our whole family. So we've been married 20 years this year, and we have, in addition to these 2 kids, 3 rabbits, 4 chickens, and 3 cats. The kids will tell you I love the cats more than I love them. Some days that's true. Some days it's not. So that's just a little bit about me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is my equipment. I thought maybe everyone would like to see that. I get a lot of questions about my equipment, why you choose to shoot. This is what I normally take with me to a wedding. This is my wedding equipment. I have 2 Canon 5D Mark IVs that are my workhorses. I also just recently added the car mirrorless for fun. It's my vacation camera, I call it, just because it's lightweight, but I take it along with me. I almost always on weddings take an assistant, and so I can easily hand it to them and not have to worry so much about the settings. I use Godox 80-200s for my light sources for all the formals and sometimes during the reception. And then for the most part, always on my camera is a 16-35, a 24-70, or a 24 or a 70-200. I also have a 105 macro that I use for my detail shots, and a 8-16 millimeter that is the fun lens that I just have. I just got it and I love it. It's kind of a lot of fun to play with. So that's the I did have a picture. I don't know what happened. I just ran through all these slides and they're all gone, but I did have a picture of me in the holster with the holster. I do carry my cameras on my hips to save my shoulders. So, oh my gosh. And now you can't see my editing equipment. I don't know what happened to all my slides, but I edit on a MacBook Pro. And I had a really cute picture of me watching Netflix and editing, because that's how every photographer spends their time editing, is watching Netflix. Or I also do listen to a lot of books on tape that I get from my local library. So, right, go libraries. Yeah, that's how I keep myself entertained, because editing is what I spend most of my time doing. For an 8-hour wedding, I will spend probably about 24 hours editing. And that's just doing basic culling and editing. So that's editing, yeah. MacBook Pro, and that's really about it. I always have everything backed up on 2 different external hard drives, which is really important when you're working in the wedding world because you can't redo that. So we're just gonna jump right into it, I guess. Right now, I probably make the majority of my money as a photographer doing weddings. They are a very big deal, very big day. You can't redo it. So I actually am teaching a class for the PPA in May called They're Only Doing This Once, How Not to Screw It Up. So that's the scary part about weddings, is that you really can't screw it up. But this was a small elopement at the very, very beginning of pandemic time. So there was not a single person at the university. So I could not have asked for a more perfect moment to get this shot, which is kind of fun, which is why I started with it, because it doesn't happen very often. Normally there's always people mulling around down there. So my favorite, I'm just going to point out what my favorite parts of weddings are. My favorite parts are the details, which is what I'll show you first. And that's anything and everything that's happening around that maybe not everyone sees. It's not the main event. So like this was right after their first look with their letters. They had read letters that they wrote to each other and then turned around and saw each other for the first time. So I just kind of really loved that. Of course, if there's an animal involved, it's amazing how many people have ring bearers that are dogs. I've done a lot of ring bearer weddings that are dogs, and I love every second of it. This one was the cutest with this little tuxedo, and then his counterpart was wearing a wedding dress. It was the stinking cutest thing ever, but she did not really cooperate. And then, of course, the ring shots. I love ring shots. I always try and incorporate things. So that was actually one of their aisle decor things, and I just pulled it off of the aisle. And I put in this not so graceful picture of myself taking the picture, but that's me taking the actual picture. And I wanted you to see that I used the program that was just laying there as a reflector to reflect the light back in, so that we got the highlights on the left side of the rings as well, as it's on the right. Otherwise it dropped off into dark shadow, because this was literally on a folding chair at the front door of the church. The wonderful thing about weddings is that you are given what you're given, and you don't always get to choose what the place looks like, what decor you have to work with, or the lighting. So you definitely get to know what you're doing and try and go with the flow and work with it, which is kind of fun. That's my favorite part about the weddings, is the challenge, because every single one is different. So these are just some more details. The dress, parts of the flowers, and then the cakes. Oh my gosh, the cakes are always my favorite because they're so pretty. And each one of these, again, it's just what was there. You work with what you have, and the lighting around there. The little detail of the little boy, and that is a stage shot. That's not, I wasn't standing in the middle of the aisle right when he was walking down, but the cat that's actually at their house, they were getting ready at their house, and she set the dress up for me, and the cat would not leave. So I was like, well, I guess the cat's part of the dress picture now. It was kind of fun. They had 4 cats, and every time she moved, once she had the dress on, all I could think about was all the cat hair that was getting caught under her dress. It was very stressful for me to think about, but she didn't care. Those are the things that you think about. You're like, oh my gosh. And then my other favorite part of the wedding is just having fun. Like, I like to have fun. And that's when I'm promoting myself, I say I've been doing this for 21 years. So I know how my camera works. I know how my equipment works. And I've seen almost every scenario that's going to happen. Bridesmaids tripping, groomsmen leaving, everyone being drunk, whatever. I've seen it all happen. And so I'm not going to panic about it. And so instead, that allows me to relax and have fun and make sure you have fun. So this wedding party, most of them were volleyball players. The bride was a volleyball player here in Nebraska, and So we saw this room next to the getting ready room, and I was like, let's just go have some fun. And they staged themselves in this location. It was so fun. It's still one of my favorites. So yeah, just being able to relax and again work with what you have. This is another fun shot. This is kind of one of my signature shots that I get. I always give them the choice if you want to do a flying the bird ring picture or a nice one. Most people pick this one. Sometimes we do both of them, but their glasses. We were actually waiting. The bus forgot to pick them up, the party bus. And so we were waiting around. So we got a lot of extra fun stuff with that wedding. And if you're on a golf course, you have to do it, right? Like you just have to do it. It's just what had to happen. He was a good sport about it. And she did not actually swing all the way through. Thank goodness. I maybe gave her a very long lecture about not doing that. Don't swing, don't swing. And then the other thing that I really like to capture, and sometimes you have to make happen, are the special moments. The two pictures on the outside were staged, but the one in the middle was actually an organic moment that happened. But part of a wedding photographer is always having to be ready and constantly looking. So, and funny enough, for the photographer fans, the technical fans, the sparkler shot was actually taken way before dark. It was still daylight out, and I just worked the settings in the camera to work in my favor, because I wasn't going to stick around. I think that was like maybe 2 hours before sunset, and I did not have time left in my coverage to stick around to wait for darkness. So we made it work. It's kind of fun. It's fun to do those. As a word of advice, if you do sparkler shots, make sure everyone is not holding their sparklers together when you light them. I wasn't in charge of lighting the sparklers, but that's what happened. And everyone was holding them together, and they lit, and they literally blew up. So we were down to like 8 sparklers for the entire shot. So it wasn't as fun of a shot as we'd hoped, but still fun. And then this actually was shot by my assistant. And again, I always give her a camera to use, but this is one of my favorite shots of every wedding, is because you see all of the people and all of their attention is on the bride and groom. And it just makes me happy to think about how all of those people are looking at them. So I always send my assistant up to the balcony if there is one. And then I stay down below and get this shot, which is also one of my favorites, because him looking at her and getting to see her for the first time is kind of magical. Most of the time, it's not actually for the first time. As a wedding photographer, you like to have everything work in your favor. A lot of times it works in your favor for them to actually see each other before the wedding, because you have more time and people are more relaxed to get the family shots. But sometimes you don't have that option. And then you work with it. But and I always pull up a picture like this when I talk to brides and grooms about if they want to see each other or not beforehand. If they are like, no, I don't want to see each other, and I'm like, okay, I just want to let you know, everyone else is going to see you and watch you have that first moment, versus if you guys see each other beforehand, just the two of you have that moment and no one else is involved. And that's normally when the groom's like, whoa, hold up. Okay. I definitely want to see her, because I don't want everyone to see me cry. Which is, sometimes I still do cry, which is nice. I always accept and love those emotional moments that they get. But that's definitely one of my other favorite shots. And then the other thing that I love are the big environmental shots of capturing where they're at, what's happening in their day. So the couple on the left with the big tall trees, they were all about nature, and everything happened with them in nature. And so I made sure that we got some really good nature shots and kind of that like epic photo for them. Of course, if you're getting married in an awesome barn, which is an amazing venue as long as it's not windy, it's not raining, and it's not cold. Then we got to capture that awesome barn. And then of course, if you're in an art museum, which that's in the Sheldon Art Museum, if you ever come to Lincoln, Nebraska, I hope that you will go visit the Sheldon because it is the most beautiful building in Lincoln. It has the most epic gold ceilings. It's gorgeous and has amazing light. Also, there's a legit phone booth in the basement, which is a really fun place to get a tiny tucked away shot. So if you're in Lincoln, come down to Sheldon and check it out. And then, yeah, again, just epic shots. So that's pretty much weddings. When I shoot weddings, I shoot for about 8 hours. That's what my contract is for. I would like to shoot about 26 weddings a year. Last year I was supposed to have 30. I was a little panicked about that. And then COVID took care of some of those for me. But this year I think I have 28 on the books. 2 of them have already been done. So that's kind of where I go for weddings. I do, because I did tell you I was going to be completely open and honest. I do contract out almost all of my weddings through a company. Because a long time ago, I realized I didn't really enjoy having to find the brides, having to court the brides, having to follow up with all the contracts and everything. I really just enjoy shooting weddings. So I contract out with a company. They book me. It's nice because I get to use them. I'm like, well, my contract's for 8 hours. If you want extra, you have to pay for extra. You know, it's like I don't have to be the mean person. I'm just the person that gets to show up and have fun and walk away at the end. And then if something happens, if I don't know, whatever, the company takes care of it and I don't have to deal with it. The bride wants something extra, wants to add to her album, whatever, I don't have to deal with it. So I do, I contract them out. And if you are wanting to be a professional photographer and you know that the business side is not your strong suit, then definitely I don't feel bad about contracting. I don't feel like it makes me less of a professional photographer because I'm still showing up and shooting a lot of weddings and having the fun part without the business part. That being said, I do shoot a lot of portraits for myself, and that's all for myself. I had a storefront studio in downtown Lincoln for 7 years. And then thankfully in October of 2018, my lease was up and they were raising the rent. And I was like, I'm taking my portraits to another dimension, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So I gave up my storefront studio, and thankfully I did, because a pandemic hit, and that was kind of it would have been a rough time to come up with rent money every month. But I do a lot of portraits. I do a lot of family portraits. I also do a lot of seniors. So I'm just gonna go through and show you a couple of different things that I do. I would like to shoot 8 to 10 seniors a year. I don't want to do too many because it's not my strong. That's not what my bread and butter is. It's I'd like to think I was known for being a wedding photographer, but I definitely enjoy doing the seniors. But I also customize every single one of my senior sessions to the senior. So we have a very long discussion about where they want to go. And then we work through it. And some, like the kid at the fair, that was one of 3 sessions he had, because he wanted all these different locations and to have a lot of fun and get a lot of personality. And so I was like, yep, we'll do all of them. And I just charge accordingly. Go through downtown Lincoln, whatever. If you know the right streets to go to, you can go to empty streets in the middle of the day. Also helps that there's a pandemic happening. And so there's no one out, but just some more seniors. And then I do a lot of headshots. I do them for anything from insurance companies to these are the woman on the left is a actor or actress and director. And the guy on the right is an opera singer. You can work with actors or actresses. Take advantage of that because they take directionally well and they their body, which is awesome. For all of my headshots now, I do all of my headshots on location. So I go to their office. I have a backdrop that's quick setup. It's like kind of pops open, set it up. I bring one light and a reflector, and I do all of the headshots right there on location so they can get through their entire office really quickly and not have to worry about navigating everyone down to a studio or whatever. And everyone's just ready to go, which is kind of nice. I also like to do environmental headshots of the office that you're in. So if they have a cool office, I will almost always try and get them to do an environmental one along with a studio type headshot. The girl on the left, she was like runner up for Miss Teen Nebraska. So that was her headshot that we used for that. Again, I do a lot of families. I was just trying to give you a sampling of everything I do. The girls on the right, that's a picture that was hanging in my studio. And then when I closed it down, I gave it to them. And they were so excited, like, can you please take a picture of us in the same pose 8 years later? So I've been photographing both of them since they were 1 week old, which is kind of fun. That's by far my favorite part of being a photographer is watching these kids grow. For a long time, I was mostly a newborn photographer. And then as my clientele grew older, I just kind of went with them. And so now I'm doing a lot. My very first newborn I ever photographed is a senior this year. So that was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around just to see that. And then I actually had a newborn that I shot, and their older sister just came to me for a wedding, which I'm not ready for that. Like, not ready for that full circle. Like, when my newborns start getting married, I'm gonna have to retire because I'll decide I'm old or something. I don't know. That just seems kind of crazy. But it's kind of fun, and I really do enjoy the families. I enjoy doing the kids. I like photographing them and capturing all their excitement. It's fun, but I had this years ago. I saw a photographer speak. His name is David Anthony Williams. He is a Canadian photographer, and he talked about how we never get pictures of ourselves, which is true. But he also said, when you take the family picture, you're not taking the family picture for yourself. You're taking the family picture for your children when they are adults. And so when you're an adult and you look at a picture of yourself as a kid, whether it be a snapshot or a professional picture, you remember, like, it causes things to happen in your memory to remember things that are going on around it. So, like, when you look at the picture of the snapshot that maybe your dad took of you sitting on your grandma's couch, you remember what it was like to be at your grandma's house and the smells and maybe the foods and everything like that. And I said, you know what? That sealed it. I don't want kids to look at family pictures and remember being drugged to some park that they don't care about, they don't know about, unless it happens to be their favorite park in the city. So I just simply told all my clients, like, I will only come to your house. I want to capture your family in your house. And almost all my clients have been completely accepting of it. I will make exceptions if they can come up with a place that's special to their family. So I have done some parks or some buildings. I did a coffee shop once, because that's where they would have their special moments. Because that's the thing. I want your kids to look at the pictures when they're older and say, wait a minute, I remember that. Oh, I forgot about that blanket that's on the back of the couch. Now, the thing about that is, and I have a lot of people ask me about this, like, well, but my house isn't nice, or like, I don't know. And I said, just let me come, because it's not like it's lifestyle photography, which is very trendy right now. And I completely understand lifestyle photography, where a photographer just follows you for the day around your house and captures you giving your baby a bath or whatever, which I think is also very cool. My pictures are very posed, and they're set up so that they will be well lit and capture the things going on around you. So like this family, these kids in their living room, which is where they spend all of their time. But like, I think I look at it and I'm like, oh, they're going to think about that map that's hanging above the piano, which you can't see because they're blocking it. But, and then the time spent at the bar, at the kitchen. And it just like, it gave me purpose back into really reinvesting into these families, because I want to give them these memories that they will have when they're adults and they're looking at these pictures and they're like, oh yeah. And so like this is the same family. This is, I mean, not the same family as the other picture, but in the two pictures, they're the same family. And that room actually on the left where the boys are whispering to each other, I just told them to tell each other a secret, and that's what happened. And it was magical. But there was papers all over the floor, and that's like their little office art room. And I said, oh my gosh, I want to use that room right there. And we just took a second and we cleaned it all up. And so we could set it up. So like I said, it's not necessarily lifestyle. Well, I put the boys there, I told them what to do, but then we capture these moments and they can think about, this room is right off of their living room. And they look at it every day, and then they get to see it, and then they'll remember it. And again, sitting on their side patio where they sit outside and read. So I walk around with them and I ask them, okay, what rooms are your favorite? I always ask the kids which room is their favorite, and then we'll do pictures based around that. So like their bedrooms, I just think about as an adult how fun it would be to have these memories of these bedrooms. And she obviously like put a lot of work, Evelyn there put a lot of work into her bedroom, and she probably got to pick it. And like, I left the volleyball down there on the floor. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like it was just her capturing just her, and with her doll that she had gotten all ready for the pictures so they would match. And it's just kind of fun. This actually is that same family. They have me come twice a year and we do all sorts of fun things. This was the daughter's idea. She loved making Christmas cookies. So this was their Christmas card. Is we had this whole cooking session and we threw flour all over the place. It helps when your mom is like, yes, let's do that. Let's throw flour at each other. That doesn't happen a lot, but it's just special little moments for them. And they look back at them and remember like, oh yeah, cooking. If you love your Christmas tree, again, like I ask my clients what is their favorite part of their house. The family on the left, they wanted a very regal, fancy, but almost a little bit whimsical at the same time, like just very Christmas card, picture perfect Christmas card. So obviously we did a little bit of post-production with the twinkle lights to over the top them, but it's fun to be able to get them exactly how the client pre-pictures it. And when you're doing the pictures in your home, if there are Christmas trees up and it's only November 1st, you can still do Christmas pictures. Or if it's Christmas trees still up and it's January 1st, you can still do Christmas pictures, which is kind of nice. This family actually decorates every single room in their house for Christmas. And so she sent me a picture of this. She goes, can we do our cards, picture cards this year in this room? And I was like, yes, we can. So it's nice when they have it all set up and they're in their pajamas. And the other nice thing about this is that kids are really comfortable in their own environments. And so they're more comfortable and they'll give you a better smile and they'll look at you more. And they're just more relaxed. I feel like I get a lot more genuine looks. It also helps that a lot of times I felt like when I was at parks, like mom stressed out because she had to get everyone ready and she had to worry that she had everything there. And the kids were a little bit on edge and everyone was just a little frazzled. And when I switched to saying, nope, we're only doing them in homes, everything seemed to calm down. It seemed to get really relaxed. if you need something, you're there. If someone spills on their shirt on the way over, the pictures might be over, but here you can just go and change. So, oh no, I don't even know what that picture was. So I guess we didn't need it. So then also I will only do newborn pictures in homes. Again, as a new mom, and this was even way back when I did almost all newborns. As a new mom, I didn't ever want to leave the house with my brand new baby. And to do newborn photography, you need to capture the baby within the first 10 days. They really change a lot actually within the first week. And then after 2 weeks, it's like a completely different baby. They don't sleep as well. They're a little more awake. So the nice thing is that then I also don't mind just sitting on your couch if you need to stop and feed the baby, or if we need to do a diaper change or whatever happens. And then you get things like this that happen where all of a sudden everyone's just in awe over this brand new baby that just got brought into their house. My big brother is so cute. So that's what was happening. I was doing all these, and I was soaring along, having a great time. And then, 1 year ago hit, and this is kind of my joke on that from one of my pandemic weddings. I suddenly found myself, all of those 30 weddings I had canceled or had scheduled last year, in the first month of quarantine, I think maybe 10 of them had canceled or rescheduled, and all of my family sessions had rescheduled or canceled, and I just was getting kind of like bummed, like, I don't have anything to do, and that idle hands are the devil's work probably has some truth to it. And I kind of got really down, like, I don't have anything to do, no creative outlets. I was super excited for wedding season. Wedding season in Nebraska starts mid-April and goes through the end of October. And so we were really on the edge of wedding season, and I didn't know what to do. And I luckily saw an article about a photographer in Boston going around just taking pictures of people on their porches. So I put out a message on my neighborhood Facebook page, and I said, I would like to come around and photograph you on your porches. It ties in perfectly to my belief of needing to capture people in their homes, where their love is, where their favorite people are, where their favorite things are happening. So it was something I could do. I could stay way more than 6 feet away. I mean, I was on the sidewalk, they're at their porch, and I could do it safely. And at the time when we thought everything was just going to be shut down for a month or whatever, I was like, well, I can make it a month without income or any extra income or whatever. So, and I was really worried about all the kids that weren't in school that rely on school meals for a meal. So I asked people to make a donation to the backpack program, which is the program that sends food home for the kids. And the backpack program was still going. They were still letting kids come and pick up food from the schools. And so I just asked everyone for a $10 donation per image that they downloaded to send it out. So these are some of the porch portraits that I was able to capture during that time. And I got the full range of gamut of just like perfectly coordinated outfits to really fancy outfits to just everyone put on their favorite t-shirt and let's go sit on our front porch. And I loved it. And I would stand and talk to every single family from the sidewalk, yelling at them. It was so much happiness for my soul and my creativity. And I got to meet a bunch of my neighbors. It helps that I live in a neighborhood that has like every porch is different. We all have different houses. But word got out. The news did a story on me. So I ended up going all over town, taking pictures of porches. These were some of the fun ones. I got quite a few fun ones where they just did something crazy and fun, which was, I liked that a lot when she showed up and they came out with all of their gear. I mean, like I had someone who moved almost their whole living room out to the front, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. But I literally got the whole range of gamut and age range. People brought out their cats. I mean, it was great. And it kept me entertained. It kept me busy. I got to meet a bunch of people. I've actually had a lot of repeat clients since this happened. I've had people come back and book me for regular family sessions, or I think I got 4 or 5 business headshots out of it, which was kind of fun. But I photographed 62 porches in about 6 weeks, and I donated $26.50 to the backpack program. And it was really just the best part of being a photographer is I got to give back to the community, and I got to give people something that they will treasure for the rest of their life. And they'll look at it and they'll not only see their family picture, but then they're going to remember, oh, you remember that 2 months that we were stuck in the house, or that whole year? We thought it was going to go on for a year, but it has. And we got to be part of each other's lives and really reconnect as a family. And it has their house, which I don't know about you, but my front door, I feel like when I'm walking up to my front door, it's like knowing where you're going to be loved and where there's going to be good food, or your kids are going to be running to the door or whatever. So it was great to make those memories. And I still I have people ask me if I still do porch portraits, and I will almost always do a porch portrait during your family session. We'll almost always go out to the porch because it's a good place. Most of the time, it's a good place to post people because there's steps. So on to some other ways that I make money as a photographer. I do several preschools every year. It's a very simple backdrop, very simple setup, kind of fun. They do provide the cap and gown, but seriously, how cute is that? I wish I had that as for my kids. It was so cute. But as you can see, it's just one simple light, a little bit of a reflector. And I do try and change up the backdrop every year, or every time I go to a different preschool, because it's you don't want anyone's pictures to look like yours. But those are pretty good business. School pictures are. My daughter is part of a pony club, which is a horse jumping club. So I just started taking pictures there. All these are taken on that Canon R with an adapter for the 70 to 200. And one thing I learned with horse pictures, which I will, especially jumping pictures, is high speed shutter, high speed motor drive, because you just have to, as we say, shoot, spray and shoot, like just back and forth, because these horses move fast. It's kind of crazy how much fun it is. But then I just turn around and sell these images for downloads. And the parents almost always download them. Anytime you can get the parents get a good picture, because you can't get a picture like that with a phone, then they are pretty excited about it. My daughter's also on a softball team, so I will take my camera to a couple games. Now, I will say that it's really hard to separate yourself from being a photographer and being a parent. So when I take pictures, I don't ever know what the score is because I'm too focused on taking the pictures. So I don't like to I don't take my camera to every game. It's just, I want to be the parent. I want to stand there and yell and scream and cheer. I still do cheer when I know what's happening, but you also have to be really paying attention, especially if you're out, like I'm in the outfields here, shooting over a short fence, because the softballs foul off really quickly. So you need to pay attention, and you can't always see that through your lens, which is kind of scary sometimes. But yeah, she's the pitcher. That's her number 2. So there's a lot of pictures of the pitcher. She's my favorite. But yeah, so again, I will sell those images to the families, and then she's on a select or a travel team, not during high school season, and they just hired me to shoot all of their team photos. So like it adds to other revenue. If you don't get the money right away, a lot of times that will add to other revenue. Of course, I did say that I did not take any nature pictures for 39 years of my life. Well, okay, 30 after I started rebelling against my dad and his nature pictures. And then I got to go to Tanzania with him. And I did not put a lot of Tanzania pictures in because you've seen all of his amazing work. And I didn't want you to compare us. His are probably better. Okay, they are better. But what was funny is that we got to compare and we shoot totally different. My pictures are very much more like portraits and his are much more like wildlife pictures, which is kind of funny. It was fun to be in the same spot and see how we had framed up things differently. And you could definitely see that there's a difference in our eye. But I have sold, I think there's 12 of my images from Africa hanging up in our local hospital. I don't have any pictures of it because I'm not allowed to use any of the pictures, but I do work one day a week at one of our hospitals photographing newborn babies, contracted through a company. And so I knew I had some contacts there and they had asked me about buying some pictures to hang up in their cardiovascular floor. So I guess if you're healing from a heart attack, you can walk around and look at my pictures from Africa, which was kind of fun. The picture of the mom and the baby elephant is probably my all-time favorite that I took there. It just, I don't know, it makes me so happy to look at. And if you can have a chance to travel, especially if you have a chance to go to Tanzania, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to do it, especially if you can go with my dad. But maybe I'll start leading those trips. And then we'll have a lot more of those. So that's another way that I make some money. And then I literally will not turn down a job. I will shoot anything that anyone asks, including chickens. I had done something else for her. I think, preschool pictures. I'd done preschool pictures for her son. And she was like, hey, will you come over? My chickens, it's their birthday. Will you take their pictures? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I took a backdrop and we set it all up outside. That's it's a floor and a backdrop all in one. And then I put the little floorboard in there so it looked like we were inside somewhere. And we took the pictures of all these chickens and she had made little party hats for them. But this one image here, I entered into print competition, which is a part of the continuing education that we'll talk about here in a minute. And I named it, you have to name your images. So that image is named Old Mother Cluckers. And it merited, which is kind of a big deal. It's not the most technically advanced picture, but it is a lot of fun. Like just some chickens sitting around talking about what's going on. We have chickens at our house, but they don't let you pick them up or take their picture. Unless you have cheese, they might let you take their picture or an ice cream cone. Otherwise, they're just not really involved. They're not interested in this sort of thing. But I decided a long time ago that if someone asked me to do something, I would say yes, and we'll just see where it ends up. Like, you want to take some pictures of chickens? Go ahead. I also do, well, all of my good slides, I don't know what happened to them. I also photograph for Raising Cane's, is a chicken company. I think there might be one in Wichita, but the local franchise here, I had photographed their newborn baby, and then they asked if I could replicate a headshot for them. And then one thing led to another, and now I'm the only approved headshot photographer for Raising Cane's in the Midwest. So if a Raising Cane's manager needs a headshot, they have to come to me. I mean, it's just stuff like that. That's just, you never know where it's going to take you. So you just always say yes. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll come photograph a headshot. Oh, I'll come photograph your restaurant opening. I'll come photograph your chickens. I'll whatever. I don't think I've yet to regret that. So the one slide that seems to be missing here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So My education, I do have a Bachelor of Science degree in commercial and portrait photography that I got from Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, Missouri. Side note, before I go into college, I did go to McPherson High School, go Pups. And Sam, I don't think I told you this already, but I also worked at the McPherson Public Library, which was fun. I really enjoyed that. And it made me go on to work at libraries in college too. So I did go to University of Central Missouri and got a degree. If you're thinking about becoming a portrait photographer and you're looking at college degrees, don't go that route. Get a business degree. That's probably way more important to be a professional photographer, professional portrait photographer for sure, is to have a good business sense. I think I kind of missed that. But if you would like to talk about the layers of film or the chemistry involved, I could talk to you about that all day long, which is not as useful anymore because no one shoots film. I would also strongly encourage people to become part of their board or a part of the PPA. The Professional Photographers of America does offer, they give you insurance along with your membership, which is nice. They also have a staff of lawyers that will come and if you have copyright issues, any law problems, they will come and defend you. They also have a long list of contracts. So you definitely need contracts for any time you're shooting for money. That protects you. It also protects your clients, just so you know who is in charge of what. So, and then the other thing that I think is really important is print competition. And I just really got into this, but it's made me a better photographer. So print competitions are put on through the PPA or your local PPA groups. I know the Kansas Professional Photographers have a pretty good group going. I follow them on Facebook and had a plan to come to one of the meetings last year and then everything was canceled. But they have a lot of good speakers. And they do also have a print competition. That's the beginning. But print competition makes you really deconstruct your pictures so that you are shooting to become a better photographer. So you have to follow all the rules and you have to know like which way that the image comes in from the left and then goes to the right. Like your eye always goes that way. So if you shoot that way, then you'll have a more pleasing photograph. And it's those things that will set you apart from other people. So yeah, the print competition, I just finished the Nebraska print competition and in wedding categories. And my highest score was an 86, which is a pretty big deal. The highest score in the entire competition was only a 92. So it was really close to being a top scorer. It was in the top 5. And I'll send those images on to the national competition and then it will go into the international competition, hopefully. So that's really exciting. And then again, also, I really encourage you just to continue education. I'm going to go to Texas School of Professional Photography, which is an amazing class, week-long class in Texas. It's in Dallas at the end of April. And there you can learn from top professionals. Every year I also go to imaging, which is nice. It's put on by the Professional Photographers of America. It's huge. When it's in person, it's 10 to 12,000 photographers, and they have a huge trade show. So any gear questions, you want to try something out, anything, you can get it from there. So the more you can educate yourself and continue to educate yourself, I feel like just makes you the better photographer. And I think that goes with every profession. I don't know. I think all of the professions have great education, and if you put the time and energy and investment into educating, you can definitely take great pictures. My Christmas card this year was almost shot completely on my iPhone, and I'm not afraid to say that, but I should be ashamed to say that, actually, shouldn't I? But it's because I would say I can take amazing pictures with my phone, or I can take an amazing picture with a camera that you give me from 1972. It's because I know how to use the camera, or I know how to use the composition rules or the lighting. And that's the key. And that's what you learn from continuing education and doing classes like this. Yeah, so I don't know what time it is. I hope I talked long enough. But I'm willing to take any and all the questions. Feel free to go and look at my website, my Facebook page, my Instagram. I have a Twitter handle, but I don't really ever use it because I still don't really understand how Twitter works. I guess I'm showing my age here. I'm kind of old because I don't really get it. But my friend told me, like right after Facebook became a thing, he said the next big thing is going to be Twitter. So go get your handle now. So my Twitter handle is Photo Lady. I'm holding on to it, though I will sell it if anyone wants to buy. I don't know if you can do that. I'm just joking. So if anyone has questions, Sam, are there questions that have popped up? I haven't really looked.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jenny. There definitely are. Let me see. Why don't we? Can we turn off the? How do we turn off the screen share? Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Just so we can get the. Great. This is great. Yeah, we had quite a few questions come in. Everybody watching on Facebook or on Zoom, feel free to continue typing questions, or anybody on Zoom, if you want to if you want to ask a question verbally, like with audio, you can click on the raise hand button and it'll turn on your microphone, kind of bring some more voices into this. But the first question is from Jim Griggs, and
Oh,
he asked,
yeah, of course.
he asked, do your cameras write to two different storage cards while shooting as a backup?
Yes, that's a great question. Thanks, Dad. My cameras always shoot to two cards. I have a SD card and then a compact flash card on my camera. The SD card is always, it's normally super large. It's like 64 gigs and it always shoots JPEGs. And I will just change those out whenever it's full. Or if I'm not going to be able to finish a start to finish a wedding on it. So it never comes out of my camera. And then I shoot for weddings, especially, I shoot on 16 gig cards. I might throw in a 32 gig card if it's towards the end of the night or I'm not as worried. But someone asked me that once about shooting on 16 gig cards. And I said, well, that comes from the film days when if you were to lose a card, like if a card goes bad, you would lose all of the wedding. If I shoot it on 16 gigs, I am constantly changing, not constantly. I normally shoot about 6 cards at 16 gigs. And so then it's pretty easy for me to not worry about those. And those are always raw. So I shoot the raws on the compact flash and then JPEGs on the SD cards.
Yeah, great. And that covered a question that Phil had as well about the formats you use. Let's see. Jeff asked, were your flashes? I think it's pronounced. Is it Godox or Godox?
Oh, Godox. Mhm.
Yeah, were your flashes Godox 8200 Pro? If so, how do you like them?
Oh my gosh, I love, 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 love them. In fact, anytime I talk to anyone about especially getting into wedding photography, to get them because I used to carry around my Alien Bees and then I'd have to find an extension cord and then I'd have to find a plug-in. And in old churches, there's like one plug-in at the back of the church and you'd be running 200 yards of extension cord just to be able to plug into it. And so those are battery powered and I charge the batteries maybe once a month and they last through all the formals. And then I have a separate one. Like I have 2 that go into the church and then I have one that's in my camera bag all the time. And it goes to the into the reception. So then I use a different one for the reception for the backlight light shots.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Let's see here. I'll try to speak up. I got a text from my mom that I'm hard to hear.
Oh.
So Marie asked, what lens did you use to capture the couple amongst the trees, like the tall trees? I think it was.
Yep, I think that one was probably the 24 to 70 at 24. It might have been the 16 to 35, but I think that it was the 24 to 70 at 24. I was also pretty far back and squatting on the ground because sometimes that's what you have to do to get the low angle and the big trees.
And then another one from Marie was about how many photos do you provide per wedding?
So I'm contracted to provide up to 600. Uh, that's probably about where it ends up being. Sometimes if they had extra hours, they get more. I don't really like to give that many. That seems like overkill. Uh, just because you don't need that many pictures. You're not going to build an album of 600 images, but uh, I would say like 500 to 600 is normally where it ends up.
Okay. Thanks. And yeah, interesting about the contract companies. Not something I'd heard of, but it makes total sense. Phil asked, does your contract company set the pricing, or do you have a pricing schedule that you set?
They set it all, which is again a nice thing about using a contract, having someone else book it for you, is that they set it all. I negotiated with them for what my rate would be, what they pay me. So they do make money off of me. It's a company, I know there's one in Wichita. It's a Complete Weddings, but the franchise is owned here in Lincoln. And so they book other services off of it. And so sometimes I bring people in because people will call me and be like, hey, we want you to be our wedding photographer. And then I say, well, you have to book me through Complete. Unless I personally know the couple or they have like some other ties. I always make them book through Complete because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with building your album. I don't want to deal with anything else. I want to show up and shoot and have some fun. And I think that's honestly, I think that's one of the ways that I really still 20 years later enjoy shooting weddings, is that I'm not having to do all that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Question from Jeff. Do you find it hard to get boys to pose for you when doing senior photos?
Yes. Yes. They are getting better. They're getting much better because we're in a very Instagram, Snapchat, central society in those teenage boys. So they're getting better. They're starting to know how to look towards the camera. But I'm very loosey goosey about my posing. And sometimes it works and I'm not going to lie, sometimes it doesn't. And I have to work harder at it. But I feel like if you put the people, whether it's senior boys, senior girls, families, if you put them in the pretty spot, like the spot where you're going to get the best image, and then rely on them to be a little bit natural and not overthink it. And that's the nice thing about digital, is you can overshoot all you want and it won't matter because you can delete it. So I'll say, okay, stand there, put your hand in your pocket, and then just kind of, and then I chit chat with them. And the more you chit chat with them, the more relaxed they come. And then I say the most ridiculous stuff too. I like to just drop the most ridiculous bad jokes, sometimes an inappropriate comment. I've not been ashamed to yell out the word fart in the middle of a family session. You know what? The boys laugh, the dads laugh, everyone smiles. It works. If you just yell out random words, they just all start smiling, and it does help a lot. But yeah, boys are hard, and I feel like there's only like 3 poses you can do with them: up against the wall, crouched down, hands in the pockets. That's about it.
Cody asked, how much time do you spend on one? I know you said it's 8 hours for weddings, but how much time do you spend on one photo shoot? Maybe some of these other categories that you talked about.
Yeah. So the other thing that I've learned from photographing so many families is that you can get everything you need in the first 30 minutes. And anything after that, you're kind of pushing your luck. So families, I would say 30 minutes. Newborns, just because you have to oftentimes, depending on how much the mom wants, like if she has different outfits or different blankets or different setups that she wants done, it might be, I normally at least block out 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm not always there for that long, but just in case. Seniors, it's about 2 hours, but that's with location changing and outfit changing. And I do say in my seniors, I can tell them that they can bring 3 outfits. If they want to just change a shirt or throw on a jacket, that doesn't count as an outfit. I'm talking like full change of outfits. But most of the time, everyone's done smiling within a half an hour max, but that's only if there's location changes or if we have to like restage a setup in a house.
Yeah, I wonder, do you ever run into like parents that are really anxious to get the perfect photo, and then it kind of ratchets up the tension a little bit, and maybe it, you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. All the time. And they have set in their mind, and actually it happens with brides too, and brides moms a lot. Yeah, it does. And I always try and tell them just relax and just trust me, it's gonna work out. And I guess like I've only maybe had 2 people that we've had to do reshoots, complete reshoots in my 20 years of doing this. But I always offer that. I'm like, if you get the images and there's not a single one you like, we'll do a reshoot, no charge. Like we'll just do it. But I feel like there's not been very many times when I can't recover from something happening, whether it being a kid start crying or whatever. Yeah, I feel like most of the time in the end it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jeff just had one come in. A question. I don't know if there's some kind of ethical code that'll stop you from sharing them, but he asked any good Bridezilla stories.
Oh my gosh. Let's look. I'm gonna look at your attendees list. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I've had a couple. My last wedding I shot was not good, and it was not good, but it was not good because of the bride. Like she just really didn't want to be there, and that just happens sometimes. Like, and it was raining. That never helps. I do carry. I didn't put it in my equipment shot, but I always carry 5 umbrellas in my car. 4 of them are clear and 1 of them's black, so I have options. And we definitely used them. But if you don't want to be there, you don't want to be there, I guess. Most of the time, surprisingly, in this day and age, it's not the bride, it's the moms of the bride or a couple grooms' moms, but it's most of the time it's the moms. And more weddings are being held for the parents and not for the bride and groom, which is kind of sad, I think. Like, because they don't always necessarily want to be there. They just wanted a small wedding and they ended up with this big wedding. But yeah. Definitely more positive stories than negative stories, but there is at least one every year that you're like, oh God, thank God that one's over. And you just want to get the images out and be done with it so it can get off your thought process and be done.
Yeah, and Christy asked, what's your usual turnaround for finished images for portraits and weddings?
So for portraits, I like to do a week. And again, that's because I want people to stay excited about it. And less time you have, the more excited they are, the more likely they are to tell their friends about you, the more likely there are to share them on social media. So I like to say about a week. During busy season, it might be closer to 2 weeks, but weddings, I don't edit the weddings, so I just have to have the images called and sent off within a week, but then they edit them and turn them around, and it's normally 8 to 12 weeks, just depending on where we are again in busy season. If it's wedding season, it takes longer, but yeah, that's the nice part about that.
Yeah. So I guess so. Then a couple of other kind of questions in a similar vein. So you only provide the images; you don't do the print ordering, right?
Correct. For the weddings, the families currently right now, I am doing primarily it's digital images. I am trying to work in this new fancy thing where it's like a box, an image box, and then there's 10 archivally printed images. along with the digital images. Like they'll always get the digital images, especially with the in-home sessions, because there's normally more than 10 images that you want out of it. So they'll always get all of them, but the idea is that they have this box with the 10 matted images that they can then share and keep, and that's part of the keepsakeness. And then the kids see it later when they're adults. So in the boxes, they're really nice. I wish I had one up here with me. Since I moved out of my studio, everything's in my basement and it's like just all kind of shoved in there. But it's they're wooden boxes, and it's a glass front, and you can change out the picture that's in the front. And I think it can fit 30 or 40 prints, matted prints. So, and then they have to come back to me for more prints.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious. You talked about COVID and the impact that had, and I'm wondering now with we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. People are getting vaccinated. Are you
Mhm.
kind of things go back toward the previous norm, or
Yes and no. I shot 5 small intimate weddings last year that were exceptionally COVID friendly, and those were by far my favorite weddings of the year because it was more emphasis on the marriage than the wedding, the celebration. And so then I got a lot more intimate moments and things like that. But as far as the like families, I would like to have more of that, because right now, like, no one's letting me into their homes to do the family sessions and the newborns. I just got to start photographing at the hospital again this month. So it had been almost a full year since we had. So I'm excited for those parts to come back. I do wish we would still maybe have small weddings, because 500 people weddings, which are very common in small town Nebraska, I'm like, there's not really a point to it, and they're all the same. But there's always something that fun that happens. It's just, yeah, I would rather have the small intimate ones.
curious about the hospital? Are you coming in like the next day after the birth and doing photos in the hospital rooms, or during
Mhm.
delivery, or
Oh yeah. So at the hospital, the it's a contract, a company called Bella Baby Photography, and they contract with the hospital, and then they hire professional photographers in the area. So we go in the first 24 to 36 hours and do the pictures just in the hospital room, like the baby in the bassinet, and I mean, wrapped up in a blanket. They're really simple. It's a 10-minute session right there in their room. It's the replacement of the like scary mugshot baby photo that we all had growing up, where we're up against a blue background and we all look like that. So it's just to replace that. And then we put them onto an online gallery, and then the families can purchase them if they want. So it's a really fun job. I thought maybe I wouldn't miss it, but I did. I'd been doing it for 12 years. And so I was like, meh, I was beginning to almost feel like maybe it was time to get out, but then not doing it for a year and then getting to start again. I'm 100% in all the time, because any day you get to hold 8 brand new babies is a wonderful day.
um, are you ready to divorce with your dad?
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut apart there for just a second. What was that one?
Are you ready for more nature trips with your dad?
I am ready to do more nature trips with my dad. We are going to go in November. I'm very excited about. It's been pushed a couple times. And I'm very excited to go back with my dad. I would maybe even be willing to do a couple other nature trips, but like Tanzania is kind of a hard nature trip to top, because African wildlife is by far my favorite thing in the world. Yeah. So
Cool. Well, great. I think that gets. Oh yeah, Jeff commented I was close by. Well, like you. And I do think that we're gonna. I talked with Sean about it just a little bit, but I think we're gonna try and have some kind of a fourth Tuesday photo field trip so we can get together outdoors and do something together after being on Zoom exclusively for so long. So maybe you guys could meet up for that or something. I don't know. You're up in Nebraska, but anyway. Um, but yeah, thank you again. This was an amazing talk, and loved your photos. I think Sean said um, he said one day I hope to have a fraction. That's really striking photos for sure. And so yeah, I guess you showed your contact info earlier. If anybody has any more questions with Jenny, and thanks again. And I
Thank
hope to
you.
see everybody. Yeah, everybody back next month, and we can keep the conversation going on our Facebook group as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
see you
please.
later, Jenny.
Yep. Feel free to message me with any questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Well, have a good day, everybody. Bye bye.